If you'd been a tourist in Paris in 2002, you could have witnessed a remarkable sight. Pallbearers carrying a coffin, draped in a blue velvet cloak, inscribed with "All for one and one for all," as they reverently bore it through an adoring crowd to the Pantheon, the resting place of great French heroes. The men, dressed in blue robes, were escorted by French musketeers on horseback. What on earth was happening? 19th century author Alexandre Dumas, globally beloved, yet often the victim of racism at the hands of his own countrymen, was taking a last victorious bow. Dumas had grown up adoring the memory of his father, who had died when Alexandre was only 4 years old, a remarkable retired war hero, famous for his exceptional moral compass. Thomas Alexandre Dumas Davy de la Paleterie had been born in the French colony that is now Haiti to a Norman nobleman and Marie-Cécile Dumas, an enslaved African woman. Taken by his father to France and educated in a military academy, his illustrious career saw him rise to the rank of general. Yet later, cruelly, Napoleon chose to deny him a pension. His son Alexander, versed in his father's fame and bittersweet legacy, was to fill his stories with honorable heroes unjustly treated and brave men who prized universal brotherhood. As the family had been left poor, Alexandre Dumas was forced to become an autodidact, one who self-educates through extensive reading, a path he followed enthusiastically. He first obtained work as a clerk with the Duke of Orléans, later moved to Paris where he became a successful playwright, then finally transitioned into writing serialized novels. Though indeed following a very different career to his father's, Dumas also proved capable of winning national fame despite the era's endemic racism. And like his father, he too was truly larger than life. In what ways exactly? In his 20s, he was a lean street warrior in France's 1830 revolution, but he would later drink and eat to excess, smoke hashish, have 40 mistresses, father many illegitimate children, and along the way, fight in several duels. An English playwright friend described him as the most generous, large-hearted being in the world, the most delightfully amusing and egotistical creature on the face of the earth. Though ultimately, Dumas was to go full circle, ending his life as poor as he'd begun it, he did for a time amass a huge fortune by tapping into the emerging publishing model of the day. The Industrial Revolution had brought with it the proliferation of the mechanized printing press, and thanks to corresponding progress in basic education, increased social literacy. Newspapers and magazines of the day had realized they could boost sales by including serialized popular fiction stories which in each installment ended on a cliffhanger. Over the years, for this industry, which paid by the line, Dumas would write over 100 books, plus numerous magazine articles, travel and cooking guides, for a total of 100,000 pages. Though he wrote about historical and legendary figures, from ancient Rome's Nero to England's Robin Hood, his undeniably greatest works were inspired by French history. It was normal for writers of the time to assemble a support team, researchers and draft writers or editors, acting as an orchestra which the official author conducted and polished. In this capacity, Dumas worked for years with writer-historian Auguste Maquet, who researched dramatic lives, anecdotes and legends, then plot outlined the best for Dumas. A jealous writer of the time accused Dumas of stealing all the credit for what was mainly, he claimed, Maquet's talent, before going on to racially slur the author as an upstart Negro. Dumas, like his character D'Artagnan, loved a duel and often parried such insults with, "My father was a mulatto, my grandfather was a Negro, and my great-grandfather a monkey. You see, sir, my family starts where yours ends." And scholarly research for over a century, including careful scrutiny of Dumas and Maquet's independent fiction writing, has soundly established which man was the master storyteller. While many know Dumas the Man in the Iron Mask or the Corsican Brothers, we'll focus on his breakout novel, The Three Musketeers, and masterwork, The Count of Monte Cristo. 1844's The Three Musketeers is of the swashbuckler genre, in which heroic chivalrous swordsmen fight for justice. Set in the 1620s, it follows the adventurous young D'Artagnan. Befriended by the three titular and most formidable musketeers of the age, Porthos, Athos, and Aramis, D'Artagnan is soon caught up in dangerous intrigues involving plots against the king. Though primarily a historical adventure, The Three Musketeers also features injustices, abuses, and absurdities in the royal court, infusing the novel with political significance. For it was first serialized in 1844, during fierce debates between Republicans like Dumas and Royalists of the July Monarchy, which fled Paris during the French Revolution of 1848. The now four musketeer heroes returned in sequels, ending with The Man in the Iron Mask, another tale of political intrigue, again blending real historical events with popular legends. But The Count of Monte Cristo, serialized from 1844 to 1846 and set in France, Italy, and islands of the Mediterranean, is generally held to be Dumas' deepest and greatest work. Perhaps echoing the once brutal incarceration of his father, it tells of the jealous betrayal of promising young Edmond Dante, who, after being falsely imprisoned, meets the Abbé Faria, a learned priest, in the Château d'If, a real historical hellhole prison into which men disappeared forever. Gradually gifted by his new mentor with a lifetime's knowledge and finally a mysterious map, Edmond escapes. Finding a vast treasure hidden on another island, he becomes fabulously rich, then returns to France as the dashing, Machiavellian, and revengeful Count of Monte Cristo. But Dante grapples with issues even wealth cannot solve, like forgiveness and vengeance. And through his and other characters' reflections on identity, fate, and redemption, Dumas skillfully blends a rousing adventure with a complex dive into the human soul. Because Dumas wrote in installments, every one ending with a cliffhanger, his work has proved ideal for film, stage play, and even operatic conversion. And, as of 2025, his novels and short stories have inspired around 200 movies. During his life, critics often hacked at Alexandre Dumas's work and hurled racial slurs at him. But in 2002, when his own now globally beloved characters escorted him to the Pantheon, like his famous creation, Edmond Dante, the hero of his masterpiece The Count of Monte Cristo, France's literary swashbuckler, proved the winner of his final duel. Au revoir, mon ami.
If you've enjoyed our survey of the interesting life and romantic swashbuckling tales of Alexandre Dumas, 'tis only meet, yea, fitting, that you visit the father of historical fiction himself, back in episode 29.